Well, fellas, it's day 4 out of 5 of celebrating the 15th birthday of Kingdom Rush, and you know what that means. Since it's day 4, we'll be playing the 4th chronological game in order from the Kingdom Rush series and 100%ing it. And that game is none other than Kingdom Rush Vengeance. And if you're new here and you have no idea what I'm yapping about, basically, long story short, is that this is not the usual type of content I make on this channel. In fact, it's very different than the usual type of content that I make on this channel. But basically, there's this game that I've been playing ever since I was a wee lad, a little baby boy that was maybe about 8 years old. And it's the very first computer game that I remember playing all by myself on my very own. And that game is none other than Kingdom Rush. And Kingdom Rush is just about to turn 15 years old as I'm recording this video. By the time that this video is out, Kingdom Rush will already be 15 years old. But while I'm editing this video and recording the footage and editing this audio and whatnot, Kingdom Rush is about to turn 15 years old in the next few months. So even though this content is a lot different than what I usually make on this channel, I thought screw it, I'm gonna make it anyway, because I really want to do something special for Kingdom Rush. I want to celebrate its 15th birthday, because it's genuinely one of my favorite game franchises. And what better way to celebrate than to make a series where for 5 days in a row, every single day, I'll be completing one of the 5 Kingdom Rush games that are available to the public at the time of recording this video. Because yes, there's a 6th Kingdom Rush game on the way that's probably maybe gonna be released by the time this video goes out. But yeah, I'm not gonna be playing it because right now at the time recording it's just simply not out yet and I don't have access to it, so I'm not gonna be playing it. I'm only gonna be playing the first 5 games that are in the series. And like I said, I'm gonna be doing it on a daily basis. So on day 1 we played the first Kingdom Rush game, on day 2 we played the second game, on day 3 we played the third game. And since today is day 4, we're going to be playing the 4th game, and we're going to be fully completing it. We're going to be 100%ing it, which means that we're going to be playing every single level, getting every single Iron and Heroic badge, and getting every single achievement that the game has to offer. But with all that dilly-dallying aside, let's put the game into impossible difficulty and jump right into the first level. And in the very first level, we find out that in Kingdom Rush Vengeance, we actually don't play as the good guys anymore, and instead we play as Veznan after the events of Kingdom Rush 1 and Kingdom Rush Frontiers. Long story short is that at the end of Kingdom Rush 1, we basically banished Veznan to the Shadow Realm, and after Kingdom Rush Frontiers happened, now everyone thinks that Veznan is gone and that the Earth is saved. And none of the heroes have fought any evils for like the past, I don't know how many years, but it's been quite a few years. And basically, the world is saved, the world is happy, everyone is happy and joyous and great, except for Veznan. Because Veznan woke up after many years of his slumber just to find out that his tower has been made into like a fucking haunted house, like tourist attraction. But anyways, Veznan gathers what's left of his little dark army and they decide to go back to business and conquer the whole world once again. And that's where we come in, because we, the player, will be helping Veznan on this journey, and we'll be beating up all our old friends from Kingdom Rush 1 and Kingdom Rush Frontiers, and yeah, we're gonna beat their asses, and it's gonna be a bad day for King Danis, let's just say. But while we've been yapping, the first level of the game already completed itself, and right after completing it, we already run into the first controversial part of this game, which is that the first level of the game has no Iron or Heroic challenge, and I really don't know why this is a thing. But it is, I guess, in Kingdom Rush Vengeance, so yeah, woohoo, yippee, I guess. Now, to those of you that are attentive in the audience, you might have noticed that at the beginning of my rant about there being no Iron or Heroic challenges on the first level of the game, you might have noticed that I said that this is the first controversial issue that we run into with this game. And unfortunately, there's a reason why I said that. I said that because this game has a ton of tiny little changes and like controversial features that were added into the game that people have very split opinions on. Some of these features were really, really good. Some of the features that were added were amazing. Like, for example, the tower system where you can actually like choose your loadouts and you actually have like a wider array of towers. Like, that was good. In my opinion, that was great. But then there are other like little weird and strange changes that were made to the game that made the game quite different from its predecessors. Like, for example, this game, instead of using stars to upgrade your little skill tree, you now get soul points. And you get soul points no matter how you complete a level. You can complete a level and only get 1 star, and you can complete a level and get all 3 stars and perfect the level, and no matter how you complete it, you will always get the exact same amount of soul points to upgrade your tech tree with. Compared to the previous 3 games, where if you wanted to get the most points to upgrade your tech tree with, you had to beat a level with all 3 stars. You actually had to perfect the level. And on top of that, unlike in the previous games, in Kingdom Rush Vengeance, completing the Iron and Heroic challenges yields no soul points. So there isn't even like an incentive to beat Iron and Heroic challenges in this game. And that's actually a very bad thing in my opinion, because even though I can tolerate like every single complaint that people have about this game, like it being too easy, its art style being a lot different from previous games, it having a lot of RNG aspects and blah blah blah. The one thing that I absolutely cannot tolerate with this game is the Iron and Heroic challenges. They are so fucking insufferable. It is absolutely insane. But we'll get to that when we get to that. If I ever run across like a specific Iron or Heroic challenge that was like especially insufferable, that I especially couldn't fucking stand, then I'll go over it. I'll pause the video and talk about it a little bit. But outside of those levels, I will pretty much not be talking about Iron and Heroic challenges like pretty much at all in this video. But yeah, those are some of the more questionable and more bad changes that were made in Kingdom Rush Vengeance that make the game different from its predecessors. But basically, the point is that Kingdom Rush Vengeance is a lot different than the original trilogy. At the end of the day, that's the point that I'm trying to make. And again, some of the features, some of the changes that were made in Kingdom Rush Vengeance, aside apart from the other games, are really, really good. They're really good changes, and I quite enjoy them, honestly. But then there are other ones that are questionable, or bad, or hell, even insufferable, as I said before. But again, we'll get to all of that when we get to all of that, because I've been yapping for quite a bit now about Kingdom Rush Vengeance and all its changes. In fact, I've been yapping so much that the second level of the game is already done, and we already entered the cave dwarvish portion of the game. Anyways, in level 3 of the game, we equip a brand new hero that we unlocked, as well as a couple new towers that we unlocked. Now, some people might consider me using these new towers and these new heroes as cheating, because the way that you unlock the hero that I'm using right now and the Soldier Shipwreck Tower that I'm placing down all over the map is by buying the DLCs of the game, specifically the Pirate Kings DLC. And the thing about DLCs is that when you buy a DLC of a Kingdom Rush game, the DLC immediately, right off the bat, like as soon as you start a new save file, gives you all the heroes that it offers and all the towers that it offers, like right out the gate, right off the bat. And some people, because of that, might consider, me using these towers this early on into the game and these heroes as cheating. They might consider it to be cheating. But honestly, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna be honest. I don't give a single shit. You can cry about it in the comments. Listen, the game gave me these towers and these heroes, so I'm gonna use these towers and these heroes, and there's nothing that anyone can do to stop me, alright? With that being said though, on level 3, we got an achievement for playing with a bunch of armadillos, and the level itself was pretty easy. We beat it first try, and we beat the Iron and Heroic challenges first try as well. Level 4 was also easy, with it only introducing like one new enemy, I think, which is these little flying dwarf dudes. Who our hero pretty much just slimed out instantly as soon as they came out. And the ranged attack of our shipwrecked ogres also helped out a lot with taking care of the flying enemies. Other than that, we got an achievement for playing whack-a-mole with these little moles, and also for exploding like a certain amount of minecarts on this track right here. And then we got like another achievement related to tapping the minecarts, although I didn't quite see what that was about, but we got it, so that's the good news, I suppose, and we're moving on. On level 5 of the game, we get a little achievement for catching the Simpsons reference, and we also run into our very first roadblock, where I get a little bit of time to yap about why I fucking despise the Iron and Heroic challenges in this game so much. And I'm only gonna yap a little bit about it. I'm gonna keep it short, you know, we're gonna get plenty. And trust me when I say plenty, I mean fucking plenty more opportunities to yap about why the Iron and Heroic challenges in this game are so fucking bad compared to the previous games in the series. On this level though, I'm just gonna give you a little appetizer. But basically, the reason why I hate Iron and Heroic challenges so much is because on like 70% of the levels of the game, they just drag the fuck on for minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes on end. It is unfucking bearable. And every time I play an Iron or Heroic challenge like this that just drags on and on for minutes on end for like 10-15 minutes, I just want to rip my fucking eyes out. And it's not even like hard or interesting or engaging or fucking anything to beat these Iron and Heroic challenges. It is just the most boring, viciously fucking annoying slog in the whole entire game. And this is the only game that's like this, by the way. Kingdom Rush Frontiers, Kingdom Rush Origins, they all had beautiful, excellent, magnificent fucking Iron and Heroic challenges that perfectly work with the game. I mean, the whole point of Iron and Heroic challenges is that they're supposed to be like quick little challenges you can bang out after completing a level that are pretty difficult, but don't take a long time to do. You know, they only take like 3, 4, maybe 5 or 6 minutes at the very longest in order to beat. If you're trying to beat them, right? And even Kingdom Rush Alliance, the game after Kingdom Rush Vengeance, even though the Iron and Heroic challenges are a little bit longer than usual in that game, they are not nearly as viciously fucking annoying as they are in this game. Like, oh my god, they just fucking drag on for so long. I have to sit here for 10 minutes straight on every single level, 2 times, once for the Iron Challenge and once for the Heroic Challenge. I have to sit and stare at my screen until my eyes fucking bleed for 10 minutes straight, watching the most boring shit in the entire fucking universe play out in front of my eyes. It is excruciating. But anyways, I'll get to yap more about why I don't like Iron and Heroic challenges in this game. For now, all you need to know is that we beat level 5, and we're moving on. And in the next level, we got 2 achievements, one for clicking this hand in the lava over here, and one for clicking this ring on the right side of the screen over here. And outside of that, as for the actual level itself, it was actually kind of an interesting level. It did drag on a little bit, just like the previous level, but thankfully it was a little bit more interesting, as this level had both these little chomp bot enemies and these big tanky, like fucking robot dwarf gargantuan enemies. And they were both being supported by these little mad engineer scientist enemies who could actually repair both the tanks and the little chomp bots if they ever fell in battle. Not gonna lie, despite all their tricks, they did not stand a fucking chance against my ogre shipwrecks. But it was still really scary seeing a mechanic pull up to that dead corpse of a fucking battle mecha and revive it, and me having to fight it all over again, having to take it down, chip away at its health really slowly. That was kind of terrifying, but in the end, the enemies still went down relatively easily and had absolutely no chance against all my flashy equipment and my flashy heroes and my flashy towers. Not gonna lie though, the Ogre Shipwreck really is a perfect, like, counter to these, like, dwarven battle mecha enemies that come out and try to diddle you inappropriately. Because not only are the ogre shipwrecks spawning these big ogres on the path who have a crap ton of HP and can tank a lot of hits and stall the enemies right in the path for a long time. But also, when an ogre from an ogre shipwreck engages in combat with the little battle mecha tank enemy, the ogre actually has to spend like a solid 10 seconds walking over to the battle mecha in order to engage in combat with it, because it walks really slowly. And while it's walking, the enemy that is trying to engage in combat with is just stuck in place waiting for it. It's just completely stuck in place waiting for the ogre to finally crawl over to it so they can finally do battle. And this is a really useful thing, because if you position your ogres correctly, you can actually like stall out some enemies that have really powerful attacks. There are some enemies in the game that can even like one-shot your ogre. But if you position your ogre correctly, you can still stall out these enemies that have insta-kills too. Because again, like I said, even if an enemy does an infinite amount of damage, it's still gonna need to wait for like 10 seconds for the ogre to just crawl to it so they can do battle, and so that the enemy can insta-kill the ogre. So in any situation, it's a really useful tower for stalling enemies, and in this level, it came in especially clutch against those battle mecha dwarven fucking tanks, or whatever you want to call them. The next level, as per usual, even though it's a boss level, got completely ravaged by mage towers and ogre shipwrecks. The only, like, threatening part of the level, I suppose, were all the sulfur alchemists, because they are actually like pretty much the only enemies in this whole entire biome of the game that are kind of immune to the whole, you know, ogre tomfoolery thing, because they have a ranged attack, so they can attack my ogres from a range, and they can actually kill my ogres pretty quickly. And when they do that, they have like a brief window of time where they are able to like run around a little bit and try their best to get to the exit, but it's just not enough for them. It's just not enough. It doesn't matter how fast they kill my ogres, doesn't matter how much time they spend killing my ogres. It doesn't matter how fast they are, they're gonna fucking die. They're gonna either die to the mages, or they're gonna die to the ranged attack of the ogre shipwreck. Or maybe they're even gonna die to the cannon bombs of the ogre shipwreck, because those are pretty powerful too. But, yeah, pretty much everything in this level was fucking free. Even the boss fight wasn't really all too hard. Bulgur, the Golden King, came out, and, he tried his best. A for effort, I suppose. But in the end, he ended up succumbing to our, little army of mages and ogre shipwrecks as well. The only real notable part about this level, outside of the boss, is the fact that we got the little achievement for finding Mr. Scrooge himself buried in a pile of gold. But yeah, we took over the Golden Throne, and now Veznan has infinite funds to fund his army, I suppose. And you best believe that he's not gonna use any of those fucking funds to make these levels any easier or any quicker for us. Because after defeating Bulgur, the Golden King, we load up into the next level that's taking place in the winter biome, in the cold biome. And we open up the very first level of the ice biome with a whopping 600 gold, which is barely enough, maybe even not enough, to max a single tower out. So yeah, thanks Veznan, I guess. Fucking thanks a lot, man. Sure, why not? Anyways, our testicular economic situation led us into quite a bit of trouble in this level, because I'm ashamed to admit this, but I did lose a couple of times in this level. And listen, I'm ashamed to admit that I lost a single level in Kingdom Rush Vengeance, which is probably considered to be the easiest game in the entire Kingdom Rush series. But I did. I lost a couple of times in this level because of the whole gold situation. And I was originally gonna make this like a deathless run where I didn't lose a single level, and I completed the whole entire game in one try without losing a single time. But unfortunately, yeah, those plans are going out the window because I had a skill issue, and I did end up losing quite a few times. But anyways, yeah, basically, long story short of the situation is that I'm the Iceman, and before going into the ice biome, I was a pretty nice man, but now I'm ice cold. Or whatever the hell Drake was talking about in his fucking 4 out of 10 ass, Michael Jackson copy ass, fucking noise pollution ass, government mandated ass, Instagram notes music ass, fuck ass album that he dropped on May 15th of this very year. Honestly, dude, I'm a Canadian, and listen, I would go ahead and tell Drake in person that if he drops another fucking album, that his life will be in danger. But I kind of sympathize with the guy, okay? Because in reality, he's as much of a victim of the CIA as the rest of us, all right? And that's something relatable. That's something to sympathize with, okay? I mean, the government is literally keeping the guy in a fucking basement, forcing him to make music to demoralize the people, all right? So, I mean, he's as much of a victim of the CIA as the rest of us. So I personally just leave him alone and let him do whatever the fuck he wants, as long as it's not diddling kids, of course. But anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, we beat this level. We got a little achievement for finding Olaf and making this girl play a little tune on the fucking tube instrument in front of her. And what else was there in this level? Oh yeah, I remember where I was. Yeah, the Iron and Heroic challenges in this game fucking blow, dude. The Iron challenge on this level was the most boring shit that I've ever had to sit through in my entire fucking life. It was just 10 straight minutes of the exact same enemy formation, the exact same wave structure, the exact same enemies coming out at the exact same intervals for like 10 minutes straight. It was the most boring shit I've ever had to sit through in my life. It was fucking unbearable. This, bottom five Iron challenge of all time in this whole entire fucking franchise. I'm telling you right now, this was the bottom 5 Iron challenge in the whole entire franchise. Maybe the bottom 10, but you best believe that the other 9 lowest rated Iron and Heroic challenges in this whole Kingdom Rush franchise also come from this game. So I'm not quite done dogging on the Iron and Heroic challenges in this game. Anyways, on the next level, we started using a brand new tower called the Spectral Mausoleum, which is like a little half barrack, half ranged mage tower hybrid type of thing, where it mostly does pretty decent magic damage to enemies, but it also has the capability of stalling enemies if you buy the specific upgrade that lets it spawn little gargoyles out in the front of the map, which enemies have to stop and fight before they can proceed. As far as the enemies go, I'm pretty sure that the only enemy that gets introduced in this level is the Barbarian from Kingdom Rush 1. They arrive on these ships and they're relatively tanky and they do quite a bit of damage, but again, they go down easily to all our defenses, and in the end, they're really not that big of an issue. As far as achievements go, the achievement that we get in this level is the one for fighting all the penguins of the Madagascars on the level. And we get an achievement for that, which is pretty cool. Anyways, the level goes pretty swimmingly, and me, the Iceman, is once again an Iceman, and I'm not cold anymore, so that's pretty fucking awesome, I suppose. Level 3 is actually a relatively interesting level, because it has this interesting achievement where you gotta tap on this door a bunch of times that this fat dude is holding, and then a bunch of zombies, like, rush out of it, and you gotta kill them. And when you do that, you get an achievement for it, and you also get a little bit more starting gold. And actually, surprisingly, these zombies can actually be spawned into the level before you even call the first wave, which is a pretty interesting feature. Honestly, that's actually kind of cool. But outside of that, the other interesting aspect of this level is that we meet Ingvar Bearclaw in this level. He's sitting at the top of his little terrace, I suppose, at the top of the screen, and he's watching us and trash talking us a little. But his trash talking doesn't go all too well because we managed to defeat pretty much all of his armies. We managed to defeat all his new fucking witch enemies and polar bear enemies and whatnot. And yeah, when we do that, when we beat his ass that easily, he just kind of stops trash talking and he just scurries off on some forbidden fucking ladder that falls out the sky, and he just leaves the level, and that's pretty much it. So after we beat the level, we continue chasing him. The next level is the Dragon Graveyard, and on this level we find the bones of Mr. Boneheart himself, the hero of Kingdom Rush Frontiers. And we pick up all his bones and we revive him with a little magic ritual, and we see him flying in the sky again, and we get an achievement for reviving Boneheart for the second time in this series. This level is also pretty interesting because it introduces some enemies that can actually like freeze your towers, similarly to how the JT in the first Kingdom Rush game freezes your towers. It also introduces snowstorms, which can also freeze your towers, and you gotta like tap away at them in order to like break them out of their ice prisons, I suppose. It introduces Apex Shards and like Apex Gems and whatnot, which are like little fast, tanky enemies that resist magic pretty well. It introduces a couple of witch enemies and stuff, and overall the level just has a decent variety of enemies, and it's actually a little bit interesting, I'm not gonna lie. However, this level also is like the pinnacle example of why I fucking despise the Iron and Heroic challenges in this game so much. It is the pinnacle example, because this level has, I think, the bottom one heroic challenge in the whole entire series. Not just in this game, but in the whole entire series. This level has the worst heroic challenge. It is a slog. It is brutal. It is, I mean, you have to sit here and you have to watch the most boring enemy layout in the entire Kingdom Rush franchise unfold before your eyes for 10 minutes straight before you reach like the little difficulty spike. And if you die at that difficulty spike, which I did personally, it's just agonizing, because if you die at the difficulty spike in this heroic challenge, you have to go back and sit through another 10 minutes of the most boring, exhausting, life-draining shit imaginable, just to have another chance to play the final segment of this level for another 5 minutes, making this heroic challenge about 15 minutes in length total. I mean, where did we go wrong? I mean, truly, where did we go wrong? I mean, the whole point of Iron Heroic challenges is that they're quick little challenges that you can do in order to test your skill. The keyword being quick little challenges. It's just, where did we lose the plot? Where did we get confused about the word quick? I just don't understand. I mean, what you're seeing unfold before your eyes, what you have been seeing unfold before your eyes for like the past couple of minutes while I've been yapping, is the whole entire heroic challenge on 5 times speed. This is what the heroic challenge looks like on 5 times speed. I'm just gonna let it play out. I'm just gonna let you guys watch, and I'm just gonna let it play out at 5 times speed until it's fully complete. I mean, just suffer a little bit, like how I did. All right. I ended up spending what I believe was about 25 minutes on this single heroic challenge. And that's not the most time that I've ever spent in a single Iron or Heroic challenge. The most time that I ever spent was like 4 hours or so, I think, on the Nightfang Swale level in Kingdom Rush 1. 4 hours was the most amount of time that I ever spent on an Iron challenge, and it was on that level in the very first game in the series. But there's a big difference between spending 4 hours on a single level that is genuinely super difficult and genuinely super enjoyable, and spending 25 minutes on the most boring, eye-melting, brain-melting, spasm-inducing, fucking coma-causing level that you have ever seen in your entire life. There's a big difference between spending 4 hours on something fun and 25 minutes on something that's absolutely brain-melting. Anyways, moving on to an actual fun level, the Joku's Throne. Joku's Throne was actually a pretty dang fun level, I'm not gonna lie. It wasn't particularly hard, it just, consisted of all the enemies that we met throughout the ice biome, and they were just spammed by the dozen, and they gave us a lot of gold, and we were able to build a lot of towers. And by the time that we reached the big bad final boss of the level, we were pretty much prepared against anything and everything. We had enough defenses to take on pretty much anything that the game threw at us. Honestly, though, the most fun and intriguing part of this level was the actual boss fight itself against the big bad dragon Joku. He bursts out of the ground on the final wave, and you get these two cannons to fight him. Because you don't actually fight the boss, surprisingly. Like, you don't actually place towers down to, like, shoot at him and chip away at his health. Instead, what you do is you have these two cannons, and you basically have to survive the horde of enemies that are getting thrown at you. And while you're surviving, the little goblins that you hired are, like, manning these two cannons, I guess. They're, like, reloading them and stuff. And they have a really slow reload time of like 30 seconds or something. But once they're reloaded, you can actually shoot them at Jokel. And they take away a significant chunk of his HP. And after you just wait around for long enough and shoot the cannons enough times, Jokel just goes down. And in my opinion, even though I just explained it really simplistically, this was a really, really cool boss fight. Maybe even one of the coolest boss fights of the entire series of Kingdom Rush. And listen, I've been complaining a lot about this game up till this point, but I gotta give it credit where credit is due. The boss fight of Jokel was genuinely really, really, really cool. It was a really unique idea of fighting a boss that isn't moving at all, and instead you have to just like hold out and survive his big horde of enemies. I think that was a really cool and a really unique idea for a boss, and it ended up being really, really fun. But yeah, anyways, as for Ingvar Bearclaw, Vesnan ends up fucking decapitating him and putting his head on an ice statue in the Iron Heroic stages, which is low-key pretty awesome. But yeah, that's where our little ice escapade of this game ended. We managed to beat Joko, we managed to beat Ingvar Bearclaw, and we're moving on. We're on the final chapter of this journey, right before King Daenerys' castle. This said, the last leg of the journey starts in a humble little farm on the outskirts of King Daenerys' castle. And on this level, we immediately go down the Undertale No Mercy route by destroying all of this dude's crops and killing all his sheep, and he gets pissed off at us and tries to attack us, and then we kill him too. But it was all worth it low-key, because we got, like, I think 2 achievements out of this whole ordeal, so I would say that's worth the gang. In this level, we also meet a bunch of familiar faces in the form of recruits from Kingdom Rush 1 and DRD for some fucking reason. I don't know. I guess in this game, somehow King Daenerys managed to make the DRD duplication machine, and he just fucking pumping out the DRDs by the dozen. Which is, I guess, great for him. Listen, I'm not here to argue about morals, okay? I just killed a farmer and fucking destroyed his home. But that's a little weird, I'm not gonna lie. In the next level, though, we return to Silver Oak Outpost because these 2 levels are the same, I guess. Somehow. Listen, I'm not really sure, but both of these levels are called Silver Oak Outpost. And Ironhide themselves confirmed that they are in fact the same place, the same general location. I'm not going to question it, but anyways, in Silver Oak Outpost, we beat Illyria's ass, because unfortunately she's just about as mid and powerless in this game as she was mid and powerless in Kingdom Rush 1. It also doesn't help her that all the enemies in this level are still pretty easy. I mean, we're pretty much still fighting the exact same enemies that we fought in the last level, and those ones are pretty easy because the last level was an introductory level. So yeah, pretty much if you use the exact same strategy that you used in the last level on this one, you're gonna win. And that's pretty much it. I mean, maybe the only difference between the last level and this level is on this level you need a little bit more air defense, because I think there's like one new flying enemy that gets introduced that's like a little bit tanky, but like outside of that, yeah, you pretty much just use the same strategy as the last level and you just win. In the next level, we fight Magnus Spellbane, and honestly, this is one of my favorite Kingdom Rush Vengeance levels. Maybe not my number one favorite, but definitely at least one of my favorites. Like maybe top 3 or something like that. And that's because it's really fun, honestly. It has some interesting gimmicks. I mean, for starters, there's this achievement that you can get in this level for breaking every single light that's present on the map. And some of the lights are honestly pretty hidden and pretty well tucked away, so you're gonna really have to keep your eyes peeled if you want to get this achievement. And then the other gimmicks in this level are also pretty cool. Like, for example, there's a gimmick with these houses around the map where every so often, every few waves, one random house will wake up and start walking down the path. And it has a ton of HP, honestly. Like, I think these houses are like some of the most tankiest enemies in the whole entire game, if not the tankiest enemy. And yeah, it's honestly pretty cool seeing them wake up one by one and start walking down the path, trying to reach your exits. There's also this one house right here, which doesn't wake up, but it does eat your units if you place any units in front of it. Then there's another gimmick with this whole little fucking mystical witch fucking cauldron over here on the left side of your screen, where Magnus will every so often make the spoon levitate, and he will grab some of that mystery goop from the cauldron and pour it all over your units. And the enemies that get introduced in this level are also pretty interesting. There's the little wizards from Kingdom Rush 1. I forgot their name, but they were like the little orange wizards from Kingdom Rush 1 that spawn elemental golems and whatnot. And they're also pretty tanky enemies. They're pretty fun to fight and do give a lot of gold. And yeah, it's honestly just a pretty fun level. I don't know what to say. It's just really fun. I think the only thing that could have made it better is if we actually got to fight Magnus Spellbane, because what happens in this level is kind of the same as what happens in the Illyria level. Because we never actually get to fight Magnus Spellbane, instead we kind of defeat his army and he just surrenders and we take him, and that's pretty much it. And I kind of wish that we actually got to fight him. Like, he actually, like, I don't know, went down on the road and, like, teleported around a little bit and we actually got to fight him. Or even if we didn't, maybe he just, like, summoned, like, some, brand new, never before seen units that only he can summon. And then we had to fight that unit, and then if we defeated him, like, he would fall down and surrender and whatnot. The point is, I just kind of wish there was, like, some final, like, boss fight to the level. But aside of that, I think this level is pretty well made. I honestly enjoyed it a lot. This level is also especially fun because it has a... Oh no. It can't be. It has a good iron challenge. We have to get out of here. This is too scary. Anyways, on the very next level, we fight the goat himself, Sir Gerald Lightseeker. Except for some reason, they decided to completely butcher him in this game. Now he's a cocky fucking asshole. And he's pretty weak, because as soon as he comes out, we fucking kill him with a bunch of mercenaries that we hired. Yeah. I mean, listen, all I can hope for at this point is that he recovers at least some of his aura in Kingdom Rush Genesis, because, I mean, this is fucking unacceptable, bro. This is not my goat. This is not my fucking goat. This is not the Sir Gerald Lightseeker that I know, okay? I mean, it's crazy. But anyways, after putting Sir Gerald out of his misery, we move on to King Daenerys' castle, the final level of the game. And this level is actually split up into 2 different parts. It's actually pretty unique. The first part happens outside of King Daenerys' castle. We just kind of, fight the little trickle of enemies that's coming out, and King Daenerys laughs at us and shit, and every so often we can tap Veznan on the right over here to make him launch a little spirit bomb, I suppose, at the enemies and, like, try to kill them and whatnot. But this first part of the level is overall pretty simple. I mean, when I say we fight a trickle of enemies, I really mean a trickle. I mean, there's like a couple of dogs, there's like a couple of fucking recruits, carrier wagons, there's like a few flying enemies, like 1 or 2 sorcerer mage golems or whatever. And that's pretty much it. After that first part of the level, Veznan charges up his racism and goes Super Saiyan and fucking destroys the castle walls. And we walk into King Daenerys' castle, and inside of there, we pretty much continue the battle from where it left off. Except now, we actually fight like actual hordes of enemies instead of like little trickles, you know? There are tons of tanks, there are tons of musketeers that can snipe your units from across the map, there are tons of DRDs, because I guess Daenerys still has this fucking DRD cloning machine. There are a lot of recruits and recruit captains, there are a lot of long-ranged enemies and whatnot. And yeah, it's overall actually a semi-tough battle, you know? It's actually like a kind of normal Kingdom Rush battle that, you know, might even be seen in like the original trilogy, you know? But it's all futile though, because we slowly creep up on that final wave and we reach what's possibly the coolest final battle in the whole Kingdom Rush series. And that's actually kind of crazy to say, because I have been dissing in this game, okay? I have been dissing in this game. I've been pissing and dissing all over its heroic and iron challenges. But I gotta give credit to where credit is due. Because I think this is genuinely probably the coolest final battle of any Kingdom Rush main campaign ever. Basically, Veznan sends out his BBC super soldier in the last wave, and so does King Daenerys. And you two duke it out and try to kill each other, and if your demon wins and you manage to make it all the way to the castle, then you win. And if your demon dies, then King Daenerys makes fun of you and you lose. However, this whole matchup is slanted way in your favor, because you have a bunch of towers that can also damage the boss, and well, King Daenerys doesn't. But that's why King Daenerys sends out 3 BBCs out to get you instead of just 1. But anyways, if you manage to beat the level, then Veznan banishes King Daenerys into the Shadow Realm, and King Daenerys probably gets his pickle tickled unconsensually, and that's about it. That's about the end of the main campaign. But anyways, right after I completed the main campaign, I immediately rushed into the Iceman levels to get the hero called Ice Cult. Basically, if y'all don't know who Ice Cult is, he's the best hero in the whole entire franchise. Just straight up. Just straight up, just the undisputed GOAT of Kingdom Rush. Like there's no one even close to Ice Cult. His attacks do splash true damage. They do true damage. Even his regular attack does true damage. And it's splash damage on top of that. And, as if that wasn't fucking enough, all of his attacks slow down enemies. I'm not exactly sure what percentage enemies get slowed by when they get attacked by Ice Cult. But it's a pretty fucking significant slow. And on top of that, Ice Cult has yet another ability where he can spew like a bunch of ice on the ground and make enemies even slower. It basically slows them down to a fucking crawl. And then on top of that, Ice Cold has these two other abilities. One where he throws a big old ball down the road and does a huge amount of damage to all the enemies that the ball runs over. And then another ability where he spawns a bunch of spikes underground, and he damages enemies with those set spikes. And he actually does a ton of damage with those spikes. It's a little bit varied. It depends on how many ice spikes the enemies step on, I suppose. Because sometimes Ice Sculpt will try to use this spike ability to, like, attack a bunch of enemies at once. And some enemies will manage to slip right in between, like, multiple spikes, and it will take 0 damage. But if the stars align, then Ice Skull can use his ability on a couple of tanks and do thousands and thousands and thousands of damage to each of them. And on top of all of this, his hero ability freezes every single enemy on screen for 12 full seconds. I mean, truly, can you ask for any fucking more? But yeah, basically, long story short, is that Ice Cult is OP, and the way that you get him is by beating this mini-campaign in the little ice biome, which is exactly what I'm doing, and while I was yapping, the first level already completed itself. Honestly, though, this mini-campaign is relatively easy. Like, it's not, like, super bad or anything, you know. It's like, it has like a couple of tanky enemies, has a couple of fast enemies, but there's no enemy that is like really annoying or hard to deal with. But that's definitely not to say that this mini campaign is bad. In fact, I think it's pretty good, and it's honestly pretty fun. It has a lot of variation in its wave structure, and there are a lot of different enemies that you get to fight in this mini campaign. So, while it might be like a little bit too easy, I think it's honestly still pretty fun. And genuinely a pretty solid mini-campaign. And my favorite part of this mini-campaign, which you get to see a lot in the second level of it, are these little boulder enemies that are around the map. They kind of sort of function like the houses in the Magnus Spellbane level, where throughout the level, these rock dinosaurs will start waking up and walking down the road. And they have a ton of HP, and they're really, really tanky. But once you defeat them, they honestly give quite a bit of gold. And if you don't want to defeat them and you're a little bit too scared to fight them, you even have the option to just drop a bomb on them for 200 bucks. And that will instantly kill them before they even wake up. And honestly, while these rock dinosaur enemies aren't really that threatening on the main, like, regular levels of the mini-campaign, because they just wake up way too slowly in order to actually, like, pose a threat or anything, they are actually kind of pretty fucking scary in the Iron and Heroic challenges, because in the main levels you have 15 waves per level, right? And that's like plenty of time to let the little rock dinosaurs just wake up slowly, one by one, you know, slowly trek through the lane. But in the Iron and Heroic challenges, you have only 1 wave or 6 waves. And that means that the game will make like 3 of these rock dinosaurs wake up all at once and start like gunning it down the path, like all at once, all at the same time, so that you know, the game can make it through all of the rock dinosaurs before the level ends. But yeah, overall, I think these rock snowy dinosaurs are a pretty cool gimmick, and they can definitely be pretty threatening on the Iron and Heroic challenges due to the time constraints that the game has to fit them in. But anyways, after admiring the rock dinos and making a little dog explode with our psychic mind powers, we make it to the final level, where we get to kill the Iceman's Ice Shoddy. And honestly, this level wasn't like super difficult or anything, but it is the only level where I struggle with the Frozen Soul enemies. Basically, there are these enemies that are like kind of tanky and kind of fast, and they don't really have any like super special traits outside of just being really tanky. But when they make it down the path, and when you kill them, they actually don't fully die. Instead of dying, their armor shatters, and they become like a little frozen ice soul. And this ice soul continues its path down the track, and if you don't manage to kill it in time, then after a few seconds, it will, like, get back together and, like, reconstitute itself and become an ice golem again. And this cycle can actually repeat, like, an infinite amount of times, theoretically. Like, you can kill one of these ice golems, then they will become their little frozen soul form. Then if you leave them alone, they will regenerate again. Then if you break them again and leave them alone, they will regenerate again. Then if you break them and leave them alone again, they will regenerate again. And this can happen an infinite amount of times. They can regenerate themselves an infinite amount of times. And that sounds like a pretty annoying mechanic, but honestly, in the first few levels, in the first 2 levels of the mini-campaign, they weren't that bad. I didn't have that many of them respawn. I guess I just probably placed my towers better than I did in this final level, and I also like kind of focused them down with my abilities a little bit more than I did in this final level. But in this final level, I was kind of selling and throwing and choking and whatever other synonym you can come up for losing the fucking game. And I let them get away a lot in the early stages of this level, in the early waves. And yeah, it honestly got really hectic. I'm not gonna lie, it got really hectic. Because I would kill an Ice Golem, and then I'd try my fucking best to get Ice Cult to just fucking target the frozen soul that's right in front of his fucking face, but he just wouldn't fucking do it. And then obviously the frozen soul would escape, it would revive as an Ice Golem, and then I would kill the Ice Golem again, try to get the Ice Call to fucking shoot the little frozen soul. If he wouldn't do it, it would respawn again, and the cycle just repeated like 3 or 4 times per fucking golem. It was pretty miserable, honestly, but yeah, I don't know. Honestly, that's not really the game's fault. That's more just my own skill issue. But it got pretty fucking annoying in this final level. But eventually, after a lot of struggle with these Ice Golems, we actually managed to beat this final level as well. And the boss wasn't super difficult. We just kind of gunned her down. You know, I got my heroes to, I got my hero to focus on her a little bit, and that was pretty much it. Yeah, that was pretty much the end of the level. Anyways, after getting Ice Called and completing that mini-campaign, I decided to take a little break, turn my brain off, and grind out some achievements. And the main achievements that I was trying to grind out were the ones for leveling up your basic 3 heroes to level 10, those being Varric, Asra, and Olok. And while I was maxing out my 3 basic heroes to get their respective achievements, I was also getting some tower-specific achievements, which are the achievements that just require you to use a tower ability in some specific way, or like activate a tower ability a certain amount of times, or spawn a certain amount of units out of a certain tower, I guess, and those kinds of things. They were just like really grindy achievements that just required you to do the same thing over and over and over again, just play the same level over and over, you know, while using the same tower over and over and over again, so you can like activate its ability a specific amount of times or whatever. But basically the point is that these tower-related achievements were super grindy and super repetitive, and they were actually perfect because, you know, the hero achievements, getting your heroes to level 10, your 3 basic heroes to level 10, that was also pretty grindy and repetitive and required me to just play the same level over and over again. So the tower-specific achievements and the hero-specific achievements, they kind of blended together perfectly to make one perfect shitstorm that I could work towards, you know, while having my brain completely turned off, just staring at the screen and just mindlessly grinding. Anyways, after getting done with all that gore and stuff, the next mini-campaign that we tackled is Return to the Rotten Forest. And I ain't gonna lie, chat, this mini-campaign was actually a little bit difficult. It was actually a little bit hard, and I actually did lose to it a couple of times. And a big part of the reason why I lost to it is because of these fucking skeletons and these even fuckier fucking ghosts. And the reason why I struggled so bad with them is because you guys remember how at the start of the video I mentioned that one of the changes that this game made to make it different from the previous Kingdom Rush games is the fact that this game actually has like a whole selection of towers that you can like pick and choose from, and like choose which ones you want to equip and like actually make a loadout, as opposed to the original trilogy where you only had 4 towers which branched out into different paths, and they were all like highly specialized in something. Well, in this game, in Kingdom Rush Vengeance, despite the fact that you have like 50 times more towers to work with, they are far less specialized than the towers in the original trilogy. And because of that, a lot of these towers are kind of unbalanced and kind of fucked up. And I think the towers that struggle the most from being unbalanced and fucked up are the magic towers in this game. Because even though there are plenty of magic towers to choose from, there are only like a couple of them that I'd consider to be like even decent or usable. Like pretty much all of my damage that I did throughout the game up until this point came from like physical damaging towers, like the Crow Archers, or the Elite Harassers, or the Bone Flingers, or the Shipwreck, or basically any physical attacking tower, you know? I like barely, and I mean barely, used any magic towers throughout this whole journey. I think the only one that I consistently used was like the starter magic tower that you get that's like the fucking demon guy on top of like a little altar, and he shoots like little fireballs at the enemies. But anyway, safe to say that I struggled quite a bit to defeat all these skeletons and all these ghosts with a couple of blazing gems and some spectral mausoleums. And the ghosts were especially fucked up because you guys remember how like 15 minutes ago maybe, or like not even 15, 10 minutes ago, I was glazing the fuck out of Ice Cult, telling y'all how he's the best hero in the game because he can slow down enemies. And now he has like the most OP hero ability, because the hero ability can freeze all enemies on the screen in place for 12 seconds. Well, I'm sad to report that his freezing ability doesn't work at all on ghosts in this level. Yep. His slowness abilities don't work, and his big old hero spell freezing ability doesn't work. So yeah, I'm not sure which genius fucking evil mastermind at Ironhide came up with that idea to make Ice Cult's hero ability just not work in Ghosts in this mini campaign. But it was low-key genius, and it was low-key evil at the same time. But even with those difficulties, we managed to beat both level 1 and level 2, with the only difference between level 1 and level 2 being that in level 2, there's a little achievement that we can get by clicking on this person over here and murdering them and letting a little fucking swamp monster eat them or whatever. And then there are also a couple of new enemies that are introduced in level 2. One of them is like the little witch that summons even more skeletons, which was pretty fucking annoying, I'm not gonna lie. And then the other enemy is like a little spectral wolf that's really fast and relatively tanky, so he's kind of scary, but thankfully he didn't make that much of a difference in the grand scheme of things, and the level was pretty much the same as the first one. Now the third level though was a little bit fucked up, I'm not gonna lie. And the reason that it was fucked up is not really because the level was hard, but because I was using my foresight a little bit too much in this level, which ended up making me a little bit too focused on the future to actually see what the fuck is happening in the present. So I died a couple of times in this level, I'm not gonna lie. Basically, in this level, there are two ancient spirits around the statue of Lord Blackburn. And speaking of Lord Blackburn, on this level, there's actually an achievement where you can collect all his armor pieces around the map. And the game is like, the game tells you that you revived him somehow by doing that, which is cool, I guess. But anyways, to get back to the point, the big gimmick with this level is that there are two ghosts in it, and these two ghosts are the final bosses of the mini campaign. And one of them, on the left lane, goes down the path, and he's completely immune to physical damage. And then the other one, on the right path, is completely immune to magic damage. So, on one side, on the left side, you have to have only magic towers, on the right, you basically have to have only physical towers. Now, I personally was so fucking scared, quivering in my boots about that final boss fight, that I completely forgot that before you reach the boss fight, you need to, like, fight actual enemies that have all sorts of resistances, both physical and magical, and everything in between. Well, there's real nothing in between, it's only either physical or magical, but you know what I'm saying, they have all sorts of resistances. So placing only a singular type of tower on one side and only a singular type of tower on the other side isn't gonna work super well. You're gonna need at least a couple physical towers on the left and at least a couple magical towers on the right. But anyways, after losing a couple of times and finally grasping that idea in my head, I managed to actually beat the level and defeat the two evil ghost spirits and whatnot, and that was pretty much that. After that whole journey, we went on to beat up a bunch of frogs. Basically, the story is there's this fucking ancient frog island that was underwater for like a fucking millennia, and it just rised up, and all the frogs that were living on that sunken island are fucking trying to kill everyone or something. So we gotta make sure that they don't do that, and we do exactly that. We go into the first level, and we beat all of their asses. I mean, to be fair, there's some pretty messed up enemies right off the bat in the very first level. The hardest part about the first level, honestly, was the fact that these frog wardens get spammed the fuck out of in this level. They get spammed everywhere and anywhere on every single wave, and they have a ton of HP, so they're pretty tanky too. And they aren't exactly slow either. I'm not gonna lie, they are not exactly slow. They're not like fast or anything, but they move at a pretty decent speed, you know? They got a little bit of pep in their step. And they also got some magician friends that help them out and boost their stats even further, which is pretty evil. But the good news is that they only have one type of defense, thankfully, which is physical defense. So basically, if we place down a couple of magical towers, we should hopefully be fine. Well, we have to place down a couple of magical towers, but we also have to, like, micro our hero a little bit and make sure that the wardens are actually slowed down and use their hero spell a little bit as well to, like, actually fully freeze the wardens and whatnot. But yeah, as I mentioned before, if we do all that, then yeah, we're pretty much fine. And this level really isn't that big of an issue. The hardest part of this level was honestly the early game. I mean, there were just like a lot of enemies getting spammed in the early game, and getting enough gold to like place down a decent amount of towers to actually take care of them all was a challenge. It was a challenge. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm just gonna say it. It was a challenge. But honestly, outside of that, outside of like the first 5-7 waves, something like that, the level was honestly pretty easy when you actually got some defenses down. The only other interesting part about this level is the little Kermit the Frog Easter egg, where if you click on Kermit over here on this little puddle, he's going to take a sip of tea and you're going to get an achievement. The second level was actually a little bit different from the first level compared to the other mini campaigns that we played before this. There were actually plenty of new enemies introduced in the second level, and most of them were magical enemies that had magic resistances. There was one tanky, slow, crystal golem type of enemy who I'm pretty sure has physical defense. But outside of him, there were like a bunch of little frog mages and like prophets and like little magical frogs, basically, that had a lot of magical defense. So basically, the strat with this level was just spamming as many physical towers as possible, and that will pretty much let you win. And the strategy that I specifically went for in this level is pretty much just spamming ogre shipwrecks everywhere. It's a strat that we used plenty of times before, and it's a strat that has not failed us up until now, so ogre shipwreck spamming it is, baby. You know how it is. We, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And this strategy certainly ain't broke, so I'm not gonna fix it. I'm gonna keep using it. And we also got an achievement in this level for tapping this little frog on the fountain, which releases some kind of a hallucinogenic and just stuns all the enemies on the map. And yeah, that was pretty much it. In the third and final level, though, we faced up against Pollux the Wise, the big bad leader of all the frogs. And honestly, he himself wasn't too hard, like as a boss, because when he came out, he tried to teleport around a little bit, and we killed him, and he didn't really have a lot of HP or defenses or anything. But the level previous to that boss fight was pretty interesting, actually. Like, all the other waves were pretty well made. It wasn't necessarily super difficult. I still managed to beat the level on my first try. But it was a little bit interesting that this was one of those money-starved levels where you don't exactly get a plethora of gold to build all your towers and all your defenses, even late game. You only really get a lot of gold, like, in the last 4 waves, I believe. But before then, you have to, like, split up your defenses across 2 different paths and have, like, 2 to 3 towers at each choke point that are going to have to defend everything from magic-resistant enemies to physic-resistant enemies. And yeah, it's a little bit difficult, and the level does stretch you out thin a little bit. But again, like I said, in those final couple of waves, you do get quite a bit of money to build a couple more towers. And with that, Pollux the Wise goes down pretty easily, and we get the achievement for slamming him out. Just like we got achievements for slamming out the previous two mini-campaign bosses. After all that tomfoolery, though, we went back in time. We did not go back in time to the first Thanksgiving to get turkeys off the menu, but we did go back in time to an ancient era, a long-forgotten era, an era in which all those old-ass fucking people who still eat salt and vinegar chips were born in. Of course, I'm talking about the prehistoric era. But all jokes aside, who the hell actually eats salt and vinegar chips? This is something that just came to my mind for no fucking reason during the recording of this footage here. But who the fuck actually eats those? Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say that they're trash. I mean, chips are chips, and I mean, salt and vinegar is still kinda good at least. But they just burn your mouth so fast. Like, if you eat more than fucking 15 salt and vinegar chips, your mouth is gonna feel like it got shredded to fucking bits. Like, you're telling me that you go to a grocery store and you're looking for chips, and you don't buy sour cream and onion, you know, the undisputed go-to chips. You don't buy barbecue chips. You don't buy, like, any interesting flavor that you never tried before. You don't even buy plain old regular chips. You buy fucking salt and vinegar? Like, really? Is that what we're doing in the big 2026? I just don't get it. But anyways, to get back to the game, level 1 of this whole mini campaign is already pissing me the fuck off, because there's this chicken on the right side of your screen, and when you click it, it changes in appearance. And I thought that if you click it enough, you would get some achievement or something. Or like if you clicked it at a specific time, you get an achievement. And I sat there clicking at this fucking chicken for like 15 minutes straight, and nothing happened. I did not get I did not get a fucking achievement. And honestly, that kind of pissed me the fuck off. But outside of that, the guest level was good. But anyways, we're moving on. Anyways, I think that what this mini campaign is attempting to do is it's trying to kind of recapture the magic of the Kingdom Rush Frontiers main campaign. Because at the end of the Kingdom Rush Frontiers main campaign, you go into like this little dinosaur cave where you fight like a bunch of like lizard dinosaur people that have like super advanced tech. And I think that that's like the feeling that this mini campaign is trying to recapture. And honestly, I think it does a pretty decent job at it. It's not a perfect mini campaign, but it's very pretty. It has some very interesting enemies that can duplicate, that are really fast, that teleport and all that stuff. So the gimmicks of the dinosaurs from Kingdom Rush Frontiers are still somewhat there. And I think the levels has some pretty interesting gimmicks as well, because for example, the second level that we're playing has these little fucking spitter shitter enemies that eat an enemy from one lane and chew it for a little bit and then spit it out on the other lane, which is kind of cool in my opinion. But yeah, and I kind of like that the levels of this mini campaign are not like completely coasting off of the success and iconicness of the Kingdom Rush Frontiers scale levels. You know, they still got like their own vibe going on and their own little things going on, and there's like different enemies and stuff with different abilities. So I kind of like that. But at the same time, I don't think that this mini campaign completely captures like the nostalgia that I feel for those Kingdom Rush Frontier scale levels. I mean, like I said, this mini campaign is still pretty good, and the enemy gimmicks are still interesting and stuff, as well as the level gimmicks. But I think there could be more of them. I think if there was more like gimmicky, strange enemies that are exclusive to this mini campaign, I think it probably could match up to the quality of the Kingdom Rush Frontiers little cave area, you know. But as it stands right now, it's just pretty good, but it's not really that mind-blowing. Anyways, in this level I got an achievement through a glitch, because apparently to get the achievement that I just got, you have to click all these 3 little Demogorgon heads around the map. Holy crap, that's a really hard fucking word to pronounce. Demogorgon. Yeah, Demogorgon. You have to click these little 3 Demogorgon heads around the map, and when you do that, you get the achievement. But what I ended up doing is I just spam clicked this little Demogorgon head on the bottom of the screen, and without even touching the other two, I somehow got the achievement. I'll say though, this level was pretty fucking stressful, and a big reason for why it was so stressful is because on the top lane, there's only one choke point. And that choke point is all the way at the end of the track. Like, you literally have to fucking catch every enemy by their toe as they're exiting if you want to kill them. And it's really, really stressful because there are a lot of flying enemies on this level. There are a lot of fast enemies on this level. And if you somehow don't have enough units to stall them all, and just one of them slips through, you pretty much don't have any time to place down like any enforcements or use any abilities in order to stop that enemy. Because as soon as it finds a little opening, as soon as that enemy like escapes your main little choke point, it's just going through the exit in like 0.5 seconds. Like there's no time to stop it. There's no time to prevent it from exiting. You can't use any abilities unless you have like insanely fast reaction time. And it was stressful. It was really, really stressful, I'm not gonna lie. But in the end, we managed to beat the level. And speaking of stressful, level 3 was even more stressful. Not particularly because of any enemies. I mean, there were some enemies that pterodactyls were carrying that it would only drop off at like the very end of the level. But for that, I had a couple of insta-kills in case something went really wrong. But the thing that was the most stressful was the final boss fight, because I was hella underestimating this final boss, okay? It was this like leader, I guess, of all these ancient people, and he was like riding the great T dinosaur, and the dinosaur was taking this whole fucking shortcut where he was just walking in a straight line from start to exit. Like he was just taking a walk in the fucking park. It was nobody's fucking business. And even though I had all my towers placed in the right spots to damage the boss, they struggled, dude. They struggled. I mean, originally when I saw my 2 blazing gems go to town on the boss and actually do like crazy damage, I was like, oh, this is gonna be easy. It doesn't matter how many shortcuts this guy takes. This is gonna be so fucking free. But then, after he exited my blazing gem range, he started healing and shit. And at that point, I shit my pants. At that point, I was terrified. I was scared for my fucking life. I had to call in my hero to focus specifically on the boss. I had to use all my abilities on the boss, stall him as much as possible, even though he insta-killed all my troops. Yeah, it was tough. It was tough. He was fast. He was tanky. He healed. But in the end, somehow, but in some miraculous way, and I really don't know how, by the way, like I genuinely have no idea how the fuck I pulled this off, but somehow, right before he was about to exit, we somehow managed to take him down from like nearly full HP to 0. And I don't know how. I don't know in what world that worked. I don't know how that worked. I don't know what happened, but what I do know is that it did happen. We managed to do it. Yeah. Awesome. Pat on the back for us. Great job to us, I guess. We get a golden fucking star for that. But yeah, let's just move on. The last mini-campaign that we have to complete before getting to the DLCs is the cultural appropriation mini-campaign. I mean, konnichiwa type shit. Let me get a fucking matcha boba type shit, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, the first level of this mini-campaign introduces some interesting concepts and interesting enemies like the Mogwai, which is similar to the gloomy enemy from Kingdom Rush Origins, in that it multiplies like fucking crazy, it duplicates itself and then it's going to duplicate itself. And it gets pretty out of hand pretty quickly, but thankfully with the power of Ice Call and his big balls, we roll over them pretty easily and they die and they pose absolutely zero threat, and that's pretty nice. The other enemies are whatever the fuck these are, and they are relatively tanky magic resistant enemies. But the cool gimmick about them is that when they run across water, they heal HP, so The point is to not let them touch this fucking river. That's basically their whole gimmick. Just don't let them touch the fucking river. But if you do let them touch the fucking river, then these spots of gold can come to your rescue. Because if you click them when there are enemies around, the enemies get sucked up and put into the pot, I guess. And you get some gold out of it, so that's pretty cool. But anyways, the first level was pretty easy. It had some relatively weak enemies. I think like the strongest enemy of this level was really that fucking water healing cat. But outside of that, it really wasn't all that bad. The next level was more of the same, except there were more sorcerer mages around this time. Like those sorcerer mages from King Daenerys' castle and whatever. And I guess it makes sense that they were involved in this level, because this, like, mini-campaign takes place, like, fucking right outside King Daenerys' fucking front step, you know? So it kind of makes sense that some Lenirian enemies would be in here. But honestly, they weren't that much of an issue, you know, if we dealt with them once, we can deal with them again. The more interesting part of this level for me were these Dragon Dancer enemies, who were actually pretty cool. I think they're the only enemies of their kind in the whole entire Kingdom Hearts series, including the next game, the one after Kingdom Hearts Vengeance. But yeah, these Dragon Dancer enemies have like multiple segments attached to them, and you can like individually target each segment. And depending on how many segments this enemy has, it can either be like fucking no issue at all, you know, you just fucking one-tap them, don't care about them at all. Or they can be a huge fucking issue, because their HP scales with how many segments there are. So if there's only like 3 segments, it's like a little bit tanky, but it's like whatever. But if there are like 10 segments, then you actually need to like, you know, worry about about the Dragon Dancers, and you actually need to like get your hero in action in order to kill them. You need to like use a couple of abilities on them, and yeah, it gets pretty hectic. But even with them though, we still managed to beat this level pretty easily. I think we still beat it first try, and we also got the achievement for following this little fucking old wise man around the map. Which was also pretty cool. But yeah, I think the toughest enemy of this level were definitely those Dragon Dancers. I mean, again, some of them didn't pose an issue at all, but some of them had like a million fucking segments and they were a nightmare. And honestly, they were pretty enjoyable to fight. And even though this level wasn't hard overall, I do have a lot of respect for those enemies, and I think they're super cool. But eventually, after getting all this level's Easter eggs and, you know, beating all the enemies, we moved on to the final level of the mini-campaign. And honestly, once again, it was pretty easy. I think this is one of the easiest mini-campaigns probably in the entirety of Kingdom Hearts Vengeance, but it is pretty enjoyable, I would say. Like, it isn't like super drawn out or dragged out like those Iron and Heroic challenges that are really easy but really unenjoyable because of how long they are and how much they drag on. These levels were like pretty succinct and like pretty, you know, compact, and they actually like every wave had like a meaning behind it, you know. It wasn't just like random, like kind of inspired enemy spam. And that also goes for the third level. The third level was also very interesting. It was pretty much more the same, you know, a lot of Lenirian enemies, a lot of, you know, regular enemies from this mini-campaign. And of course, the big bad boss himself, the big dragon that's on the left side of the map, that's just waiting his turn to take action, you know. But, yeah, honestly, the coolest part about this level was probably just the map layout, because there were like a lot of different interesting paths that the enemies could take. And outside of the level layout, I think the coolest part was probably the boss, because the boss wasn't actually like, you know, like consistently moving throughout the stage, like how other enemies or other bosses would just be like walking down a path and, you know, encroaching on your exit or whatever. Instead of doing all of that, this boss was kind of just like popping up randomly, you know, throughout the river. Like he would pop his head up, he would do a little bit of damage, he would go underwater, pop his head up again, he would do a little bit of damage. He would pop up, pop his head underwater, pop up again, he would do a little bit of damage. And he would like slowly, incrementally move down the path until he reached the exit. But unfortunately for him, he never did get the chance to reach the exit because we slimed his ass up before he could do that. And we got the Son of Fire achievement for beating the boss of this mini-campaign. But yeah, it was honestly a nice little mini campaign. It was not super crazy and not super difficult, but I'd say it was enjoyable, honestly. But now, all that's left to do is to beat the DLC mini campaigns, or I guess they're more like the medium campaigns, because the mini campaigns have between like 1 and 3 levels in this franchise, but all the DLC campaigns have 5. But anyways, the point is, we gotta beat like 2 more many medium campaigns in order to actually finally finish and 100% complete the game. And the first DLC mini campaign that I decided to tackle was the Pirate Kings DLC mini campaign. Basically, the lore is that Vesnan wants to take over the whole world, and well, these little islands over here are a part of the whole world. And so, before Vesnan arrives, the 5 Pirate Kings get the warning that Vesnan is coming and you gotta all clench your butt cheeks and whatever. And so the Pirate Kings do exactly that. They clench their butt cheeks and they wait for our arrival. And the very first Pirate King that we meet in our journey here is the Black Corsair from Kingdom Rush Frontiers. And the Black Corsair was honestly pretty chill. He wasn't really that hard of a boss. The enemies that he was sending out weren't too difficult to handle. They did have a significant, increased amount of HP. They did have, significantly more HP than the average enemy from an average mini-campaign, but they still weren't, super difficult. I just kind of went with my heart. I did whatever the hell I wanted, placing down whatever towers I wanted, whatever towers I felt like, and I ended up beating the level pretty easily. The hardest part of the level, honestly, was getting this secret achievement, which required you to tap on every single chicken on the map and explode every single chicken on the map. And once you did that, you would get this achievement. But there were like a shit ton of chickens on this map, and some of them were really, really well hidden. So whenever you think you got all the chickens popped, there will be like another one hiding in some random corner on some part of the map that you haven't looked at yet. But honestly, outside of getting that achievement, this level really wasn't all that difficult. Even the boss himself, while being a little bit tankier than a regular boss in Kingdom Rush Vengeance, wasn't really super innovative or super crazy or super new, I guess. He just kind of had the ability to pester you during the level, shooting a couple of cannonballs at you as the level played out. And then when he hopped out of his boat in the final wave and actually faced you, he just kind of walked down the path, acting like a pretty average regular boss. And that was pretty much it. On the second level, we fought the half-monkey, half-human Pirate King, who basically just led an army of monkeys. And these monkeys were pretty fucking annoying, man. I gotta tell you, this level was pretty damn hard for me. I usually, in most of my attempts, I died on, wave, 7 at the very latest. I died in, one of the earlier waves. Because the monkeys are super fast, dude. They fucking steamroll through your defense. Some of them deal a lot of damage. Some of them are pretty weak. Actually, most of them are pretty weak, I think. But the problem is that a lot of these guys are really, really, really fucking fast. And they completely ignore, all of your units. The only way to stall them or, slow them down in some way is to either use a tower that stuns them, or to use Ice Skull's hero ability that just, freezes every single enemy in the map. But outside of that, you can't really, stall them or stun them in any way. Because again, like I said, they're just gonna run past your units if there's any units in front of them. So they were really tricky and really annoying to deal with. And the one thing that really surprised me about this level is that there's these boulders, that sometimes come out of the exits and roll around the map and, roll over your units and whatnot. And I thought that if I let those boulders leak, that they wouldn't do any damage. Because, I mean, they're boulders, right? I mean, they aren't, living enemies or anything. And I'm pretty sure I couldn't even, click on them to see their stats or anything. So I thought that the boulders were, unkillable. and then you were meant to let them pass through the defenses and reach the exit. But it turns out even the boulders in this game do fucking damage to your base, because if they roll to your base and they pass through like all your defenses, they're still gonna do damage. And after a good few attempts of losing at like wave 5, I decided to go on YouTube and just look up a strategy for this level. I wasn't gonna follow any strategies. I wasn't planning to actually like follow a strategy beat for beat or anything. But I just wanted to look up a strategy because this level seemed fucking impossible, right? So I wanted to see like what people were doing in order to beat this level, because it seemed really, really hard. So I just kind of wanted to get like an idea, you know? I just wanted to like look at a thumbnail at least or something to see what kind of towers people were using and what they were doing. And you know what the first result was? You know what the first fucking thing I saw was when I searched up a strategy for this level? It was this. I mean, I don't even need to click on the fucking video. Just look at that thumbnail. What the fuck is that? Like, there's no way that works. Like when I first saw that thumbnail, I was like, okay, well, you know, this person just spammed elite harassers and he won the level, right? He just spammed elite harassers and he won the level. And I was like, well, okay, he probably played on like casual mode or something, because like there's no way that this works in impossible mode, right? I mean, he probably just played like in casual mode secretly or something, or cheated in some way or something, right? Because there's no way that this works on the hardest difficulty in the entire game. And so the curiosity got the best of me, and I just tried out the strategy, you know, just to see if it works. And it fucking worked. On impossible mode. The answer to beating this level on impossible mode was just spamming elite harassers everywhere. A singular tower. No supports. I mean, I was just truly fucking speechless. I mean, listen, it was kind of funny. It was really fucking funny that strategy ended up working at all. But that was kind of crazy. That was kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, really, one tower all alone soloing this whole entire level that looked really, really fucking difficult on the surface. I mean, I was honestly just hornswaggled. I was flabbergasted. I don't know what other fucking old English word is there for as a synonym for the word confused. I don't know. But anyways, the point is, I was shocked. Okay, I was fucking shocked. But it worked. We beat the level. Yippee! I guess we gotta move on, you know? Level 3 of this mini-campaign, though, had a ton of aura, honestly. It looked super fucking cool. The map layout looked insane because of how far apart the exits were. And the boss had a lot of aura, too. The boss was like this humanoid shark guy. And up until you reached the final wave, you had no idea which path he was gonna pop out of. And it was a really, really cool level, honestly. As soon as I saw it, though, I knew it was gonna be a whole lot of bullshit. And it turned out that I was fucking right about that presumption, because this level was pretty fucking difficult. Not only did it have, like, a lot of spam, just a lot of spammed enemies, not only were, like, all of the enemies not able to be actually stunned because they all did a lot of damage, which I guess makes sense because they're sharks, but it was a lot, dude. It was just a lot. There were even mini bosses on this level, like the Megalodons, which not only had an area insta-kill attack, which means they could insta-kill all enemies in an area, but they also had like fucking a million HP. They were crazy fucking tanky. It was absolutely insane. And they were really hard to kill too, because the freeze ability didn't work on them. Like Ice Cold slowing abilities and freezing abilities did not work on the Megalodon mini-boss, because again, he was a mini-boss. He was unaffected by all status effects. So out-damaging him without stalling him at all was a tall fucking task. And it was really, really difficult, and it took me a good few tries to beat this level. It took me a lot of tries. It took me a lot of fails and a lot of retries to beat this level, honestly. But it was really fun. It was really fun strategizing. Or at least that's what I would say if it wasn't for the fact that after like my 10th attempt of trying and failing this level, I got flashbacks to the previous level, and how in the previous level, the elite harassers managed to completely solo it. You know, despite the monkeys in the previous level not giving a fuck about any barrack stars, you know, the elite harasser just somehow managed to outdamage them with their ranged attack. And I thought about that level, and I gave level 3 like a couple more attempts, right? But eventually I was like, what if? You know, what if, by some god-given bullshittery, the same strategy that worked in level 2 also worked in level 3? And I just decided to try it. I just decided to give it one honest college try, you know. I mean, even without this strategy, I thought to myself, even if this strategy doesn't end up working, I'm still gonna beat this level. Because I strategized a lot in this level, and I came up with a pretty decent strategy that was getting me further and further and further each run. So eventually I was gonna beat it anyways. But I decided to just try out the Elite Harasser strategy just one time, you know, just to make sure that, you know, the game isn't pulling a Fugel on me, you know. And so I tried it out, and it worked. And I was kind of pissed off, I'm not gonna lie. Listen, the first time that this strategy worked in level 2, the first time that it worked, it was kind of funny, right? Because it was such a hard-looking level that was beaten by such a dumb strategy that it was kind of funny. But in level 3, it was a lot less funny, dude. I was on the verge of fucking tears. Because on level 3, I was actually, like, strategizing and, like, actually using my brain. In Kingdom Rush Vengeance, by the way, you know, the game that was supposed to be the easiest game in the whole series, I was, like, actually using my brain and strategizing on it. Only for it to turn out that the solution was just spamming Elite Harassers again. And I was kind of pissed off. I wouldn't say I was crashing out, but I was kind of pissed off. I was pretty fucking mad about that. It just not sit right with me, you know. But once again, we managed to beat the level. The Elite Harasser somehow managed to outdamage the Megalodons and whatnot. And with like a couple of blazing gems, we managed to beat the boss too. The boss, honestly, was kind of lame, though, because he destroyed towers. And I fucking hate bosses that destroy towers, you know? It's not like I even got a refund for my towers that the boss destroyed. He just destroyed them and I never saw that fucking money again. And it especially hurt on level 3, because on level 3, I was actually kind of money-starved. And even after beating the boss, it just kind of left me feeling even more deflated than I already was. You know, and I already was deflated. Because I was pretty fucking mad about all my strategies getting, like, thrown aside in favor of just Elite Harasser spam, you know? I was pretty sad about that already, and then when the boss came out and he just started spamming his fucking ability that lets him destroy towers, like, just actually spamming the fuck out of it, I was pretty fucking mad, I'm not gonna lie. And overall, even though this level was cool and it had aura, it just kind of ended up pissing me off at the end. I mean, I suppose the strategy this time around was like a little bit more complicated than in level 2, because in level 3 I actually had to put down like a couple more towers outside of just Elite Harassers, but it was mostly Elite Harasser spam. But anyways, we moved on to level 4, and level 4 wasn't that much more complicated than level 2 or 3. But at least in level 4, I got to spam a tower that I actually enjoy spamming, which is the Ogre Shipwreck. I just spammed it all around the place. I put down a couple spectral mausoleums in case there were some enemies that had a high physical resistance, or they were flying or whatever. And that pretty much beat the whole level for me. The only real tough part of this level was the final boss, because I was kind of underestimating him, and I thought that my Ogre Shipwrecks would be able to like completely take out the boss with their little barrage ability where they fire like off like a bunch of bullets at once every like 12 seconds or something like that. But they weren't quite able to do it. They did a lot of damage, but they weren't quite able to kill him. So I had to sell and replace a couple of my towers in favor of blazing gems, which actually did single target damage. And the boss, due to my tomfoolery, ended up getting really, really close to the exit. But thankfully, we managed to beat him, like, in the last seconds. And thankfully, he went down. and it wasn't that bad. No, we still managed to beat the level first try. And then on level 5, the final level of this DLC mini campaign, we meet the man himself, Captain Blackthorn. And somehow he managed to escape with all of his buddies from the previous level, and now we gotta face all 5 bosses that we fought throughout this mini campaign all at once. Well, I guess it's all 4 bosses, with the 5th one being the new boss, which is Captain Blackthorn. And yeah, it's pretty fucking difficult. Let me tell you, this level is pretty fucking difficult. It has ever-changing terrain throughout the course of the level. Like, every few waves, a new path opens, something explodes, you know, the map shifts around and changes, and it gets pretty hectic. And it's also a pretty fucking hard level, I'm not gonna lie. Because on level 5, you already have to fight the Black Corsair. And on top of that, right when you kill the Black Corsair, you also have to fight the Monkey Pirate King. And then when you do that, on level 10, you have to fight Spectro, the boss from the 4th stage, and the little Shark King guy from the 3rd stage. And they all still have their abilities, including the Shark King's ability to destroy your fucking towers, which is really annoying, once again, because he fucking loves to spam that ability. He loves to spam that ability more than anything in the fucking world. And whether or not you beat him is also pretty RNG dependent, because I'm pretty sure he just goes for random towers. Originally, I thought he went for like your most expensive towers, but it seems like he just goes for random towers, which is also another factor of annoyingness in this level. And during this whole charade, Captain Blackthorn uses his most iconic ability from Kingdom Rush Frontiers. And listen, I'm gonna say it, the ability that he uses is really annoying, but I am kind of glad that he has it, because I would be really, really disappointed if he did not have this ability as a boss. And that ability, of course, is his money-stealing ability, where every time you have more than 300 money saved up in your account, he unleashes his parrots, and he lets the parrot peck away at your money and take away some of it. And like I said, this ability only activates if you have more than 300 gold in your account. Or if you hold more than 300 gold at once, which I think makes sense, because it keeps the level really, really tight, because it pretty much forces you to use your money as soon as you have it. Like, as soon as you have enough money to level up a tower, you have to level it up. Because $300 is pretty much enough money to max out any tower or buy any ability, except for, like, a very, very few. So, pretty much as soon as you have the money to upgrade any tower, you have to upgrade it. Which I think is a really cool way to implement the money-stealing ability. It still is annoying, and it still is kind of hard to deal with, and it still is annoying when you fail to deal with it. But I think that the way that it's implemented is really, really cool, as opposed to it just being like a random ability that randomly activates, like, I don't know, like every 20-30 seconds or some bullshit. So you might be asking yourself, wow, Exorbula, this level looks really hard, how did you beat it? And well, I gotta tell you, dear viewer, I struggled on this level a lot. I lost probably a dozen times before I finally managed to beat it. Probably even more, probably like 20 times or something. I lost again and again and again, but I did develop a nice strategy, you know. I carefully put a blazing gem in front of the entrance of the ship, so that when the Black Corsair come out and when the Monkey Pirate King come out, the blazing gem can take care of them easy peasy lemon squeezy, no problem, right? Then I carefully put the elite harassers here in the back, so that when all of the pathways opened around the map, the elite harassers could shoot over the barrier and like chip away a little bit at the enemies that are passing through. Then I carefully put an ogre shipwreck here, you know, to make it deal some extra damage and have some extra little stalling power. Then I expertly put a spectral mausoleum at the back of the map, just to catch any leaks in case they leak through the map. And then all that fucking fell apart, and the answer to beating the level was actually just spamming elite harassers. I'm not even fucking kidding. I mean, what did you expect? I mean, really, what did you expect? I mean, of course, the answer was always going to be just spamming elite harassers. Because who fucking doesn't love elite harassers, am I right? And at this point, I was properly pissed off. I don't know if the developers actually intended for every solution to just be spamming elite harassers, but it kind of feels like they did, because they didn't have any enemies to, like, counter the elite harassers, you know? And it just, like, at this point, it just pissed me off. that, like, for the third time in a row, the solution to beating the level was just spamming elite harassers. You know, the only level where that wasn't the solution was level 4 and level 1. But in level 2, 3, and 5, of course, the solution was just spamming elite harassers. And at this point, I was properly pissed off, because I spent 20 attempts carefully, expertly crafting a fucking strategy by hand. You know, chiseling it out of, like, fucking marble, right? Only for all of that to get thrown out the fucking window, and for the answer to just be spamming elite harassers. And as much as I liked this mini-campaign, and as cool as it was, and as cool as it looked, and as cool as all the references to Kingdom Rush Frontiers were, I was just pissed the fuck off. Because really, dude? Like, really? Like the answer, you're just gonna make the answer for fucking everything's just spamming elite harassers? Like, that just left a sour taste in my mouth. Like, throwing 20 attempts worth of strategizing in favor of elite harassers was just, like, you know, that's really my final mark on this mini campaign. It's just, you know, that's really how it felt. It just felt like, you know what I'm saying? You probably know what I'm saying. But anyways, yeah, it was just, I just felt really deflated after beating this mini campaign. I mean, I was happy to do it. You know, it was still a little bit of fun. But that fucking elite harasser strategy just pissed me the fuck off. But a win is a win. And after beating the Pirate Kings DLC and all its Iron and Heroic stages, we had to move on to the final part of the game. The final mini-campaign that we had to beat. And that mini-campaign is none other than the Hammerhold mini-campaign. This is another DLC mini-campaign. It's actually, like, paid and stuff, and has, like, 5 levels inside of 3 and whatnot, and there's, like, a tower attached to it and whatever. And yeah, it's honestly a very cool mini-campaign. It's pretty good. I mean, its first level is kind of uneventful. I mean, that's kind of to be expected. You know, just like with the Pirate Kings DLC mini-campaign, the first level was not really anything special. It was kind of cool. It wasn't, like, poorly designed or anything. I think the wave structures were really interesting. The enemies were really varied. And there was something going on in each wave, you know? It wasn't just, like, mindlessly staring at your screen kind of easy. It was actually, it was like, you know, it was easy, but it was, like, engaging, you know? I think that's really the best way to describe it. It wasn't like those Iron and Heroic challenges where you just, like, sit and stare at your screen as the same enemies come out again and again and again trying to beat you. There were also some great Easter eggs on this level. Like, for example, when you pull up to the first island, there are these, like, cannons. And the cannons are meant to be used to destroy these little pre-built structures that Hammerhold already has that are fighting against your towers. And I thought that was a really cool touch and a really good callback to Kingdom Rush Frontiers. Because in Kingdom Rush Frontiers, in the desert at least, in the early levels, there were like a couple of pre-built towers around each level that kind of help you out a little bit to fight against the oncoming hordes of enemies, like the pre-built Legion's archers, for example. And it's kind of cool that this game kind of brought them back and made them like an actual part of at least one level. But yeah, anyways, in this level you get a cannon, which you can spend money on in order to destroy all these towers around the map. But with the cannon, you can also hit these guys over here, and you will get an achievement for doing that. And then there's also another achievement down here where you can get one of these blacksmiths to craft a cool-looking helmet. And when you do that, you also get an achievement. But outside of that, the level was really just easy. It was just a standard level. Like, nothing bad about it, but nothing, like, super crazy, awesome, cool, mind-blowing about it either. It was just an average level, pretty well made, pretty well designed. That's pretty much it. We're moving on. Level 2 was more or less kind of sort of the same, except it didn't have all those pre-built towers. But it did have a cooler map layout. Like, there were enemies coming out of these trees, like, sneaking through your defenses to try to reach the exit faster, and you had to stop them. There were genies coming out of the water. There were also a reference to Kingdom Rush Frontiers, and they also had their abilities from Kingdom Rush Frontiers, which is to turn your units into random objects. And they were pretty cool, and they were definitely really annoying to deal with because their ability pretty much had no cooldown, just like in the original Kingdom Rush Frontiers. Like, they could just clap their fists over and over and over and over again, you know, turning your towers into sand and your units into just random objects. I think the coolest part of this level was probably the genies and the final boss fight, though, because the final boss fight was against a hero from Kingdom Rush Frontiers, and that hero is obviously Mirage. Now, Mirage in Kingdom Rush Frontiers is kind of an hero. She's really bad. I guess in this game she did put up a little bit of a fight, but she was kind of still mostly and kind of defenseless and not really all that scary. And we still managed to beat her level first try. Level 3, though, while we still managed to beat it first try, it was quite a struggle. And that was because we were fighting against one of the undisputed GOATs of Kingdom Rush Frontiers. And that is, of course, none other than Chatra. I mean, not only was this level hard because it had so many entrances that enemies were just absolutely pouring the fuck out of, but it was also pretty difficult because it had the two exits, which were like on the complete polar opposite sides of each other. It was pretty hard to get them both and defend them both. And it was especially hard to defend them both when all of the tower spots on this map were like so fucking far apart. Like, there are maybe like a total of like fucking 5 tower spots on this whole entire level. And somehow, with only like 5 tower spots, like 5 actually viable tower spots, you somehow had to like deal with 20,000 enemies coming at you from like 20 different entrances, while also having to defend 2 different exits that were like on the complete opposite sides of each other. But anyways, on the final level, Chatra finally comes out and he goes absolutely fucking crazy, absolutely fucking nuts on that DJ table that's right in front of him. He plays some crazy sick beats, and somehow with his beats he's able to summon UFOs that vacuum up your towers and completely destroy them. Which, you know, I'd be mad about, because I think the only gimmick that I don't like with bosses is when they destroy your towers. That's like the only gimmick that I don't like, the one gimmick. But with Chatra, I can actually handle it, because I mean, like, insta-killing and vacuuming up enemies was like his whole thing in Kingdom Rush Frontiers. And not only that, but he didn't spam it nearly as much as other bosses. And plus, unlike with other bosses, in this mini-campaign here, in this level of this mini-campaign, you only had to deal with Chatra's army, not Chatra himself. So he wasn't directly helping himself, you know, get to the end of the track. Which made his, you know, tower destroying ability a little bit more bearable, right? But overall, he was a pretty cool boss. You know, his army was pretty big, honestly. He had a lot of enemies to spam, but eventually he went down as well. And yeah, his DJ table got destroyed and his UFO got destroyed, and then he fucked up, I guess. But yeah, that's basically what happened to him. Level 4 was a very, very pretty level. I think even prettier than level 3, which I can already consider to be a pretty level. But it also had the same problem as level 3, where the tower spots were just so suboptimal in this level. Like, you could barely, like, create a choke point in this level. It was pretty crazy. But this level was kind of the same as level 3. There was a big army that you had to fight. Plenty of tanky enemies, plenty of fast enemies. There were like new assassins and like blade dancers and whatnot that would try to run through your defenses and whatever. But the one most notable enemy in this level is actually the War Elephant. Because much like the Megalodon from the Pirate King DLC, the War Elephant is a mini-boss. And that means that he cannot be frozen or stalled in any way, and he just kind of runs to your defense. Well, say that he runs to your defense is a bit of over-exaggeration. He moves very, very slow. But still, he cannot be stalled or stunned or anything in any way. And that makes him a pretty formidable fucking foe, I'm not gonna lie. That makes him pretty fucking formidable. But in this level, in the normal version of the level at least, we managed to take him down pretty easily, and we managed to get to that final wave. We also fight like a bunch of civilians for some reason. Not exactly sure if Geneva Conventions would fuck with that, but I mean, the civilians were in our way, okay? We were just following orders or whatever they said. But yeah, anyways, we kill a bunch of civilians, we kill a bunch of army men, and we eventually really reach the final wave to find a familiar face, and that familiar face is Mr. Ulrich himself. And Ulrich wants to tussle with this muscle, basically. And he's like, I won't let you fucking take Linearia, I won't let you take Hammerhold, I'm gonna fucking kill you or whatever. Anyways, yeah, basically his speech is useless, because we end up killing him instead of him killing us. And yeah, it's kind of over for him. I mean, he kind of looks cool with his long hair, not gonna lie. Because, again, Kingdom Hearts Vengeance is a game that takes place, like, many years after Kingdom Hearts Frontiers, and it's kind of cool to see Ulrich go from having his short hair to having actually long hair, like long samurai warrior hair. That was kind of cool to see, but he wasn't really particularly strong. He went down really easily, and that was pretty much this whole level. The only other notable thing about this level was actually its Iron Challenge, because I played the Iron Challenge, and I already sniffed bullshit in the water, because when I clicked on the Iron Challenge, I saw that the only powers you can use in it were the Swamp Thing and the Elite Harassers. And I immediately got flashbacks to you know who I got flashbacks to. I got flashbacks to the Pirate Kings DLC. And, well, as you probably would have predicted, the strategy in this level was just spamming the fuck out of Elite Harassers everywhere. That was pretty much the whole strategy. It was still a little bit hard, because the only enemies that came out in this level were the War Elephants, which had immunities against physical damage, so it was really hard to kill them. But with enough micro, and after like a dozen attempts of trying to beat this level with lead harassers and trying to micro them just right and move them around just right, we finally managed to beat this level after a bunch of tries. And actually, surprisingly, the key to beating this level is not using Ice Scald. Because Ice Scald's whole thing is that while he does a ton of damage, and while he does a ton of true damage, he can't really slow down the War Elephants, because they're mini-bosses, so they can't be frozen or slowed down. So actually, secretly, the actual way to beat this boss was by using Azra, the second hero that you get in the whole game. You use Azra, use her poison abilities that pierce armor, and if you do that, you can actually beat this level pretty easily with less micro than you'd need to beat it with another hero like Ice Cold, for example. But yeah, I mean, I kind of felt like this level was mocking me, all in all, because, you know, I just went through whole hell, through a fucking hell with the Elite Harassers, and I went like on a whole rant about how Elite Harassers suck and they ruined the whole game. Just for the game to throw Elite Harassers in my face and say, here you go, just spam these guys and you'll beat this level, right? It felt a little disrespectful from the game, okay? It definitely gave me, I guess, some flashbacks to the Pirate Kings DLC. But overall, it was a pretty fun level, and I like the fact that it employed the use of Azra, and it was pretty cool overall, what can I say? And on the final level of the mini-campaign, we went against the man himself, Mr. Malik Hammerfury, because somehow, in some way, I have no idea fucking how, but somehow he managed to become the king of Hammerhold. I guess, after his whole Kingdom Rush 1 debacle, you know? But yeah, he became the king of Hammerhold apparently, and now we're in his arena, which is pretty small, and the enemies don't have a lot of track to go through before they are allowed to exit the level. And it's overall a pretty cute level, though, I'm not gonna lie. It's definitely difficult because of how short the map is and how short the track is. But if you manage to deal with all the speedy enemies and not to DPS them and stuff, and maybe use the mark from the Crow Archer Tower to mark all the strong enemies to make them take like double damage or whatever, then the level becomes pretty easy. Like, as long as you're able to outdamage all the speedy enemies and all the war elephants, the level becomes pretty easy. But until you can figure out a strategy to do that, it's honestly pretty difficult. But honestly, this is probably one of my favorite levels in the whole entire Kingdom Rush Vengeance game. And that's honestly because it's very pretty and looks very cute. I mean, you have like this whole Coliseum and like all the tents, like the sunshade that's like over the crowd and whatnot. And then in the actual crowd, like in the actual bleachers, you have fucking, the Dark Army cheering for our side for Lord Veznan. And then on the other side, you have like warriors from the Hammerhold Empire, cheering on King Malik and his army. But it's a very cute level, honestly. Like, even if it was like a shit level with shit fucking wave design, it would probably still be one of my favorite levels in Kingdom Rush Vengeance, just because of how cute and well made it is. But yeah, anyways, like I said, King Malik's army is relatively difficult to deal with, but after a couple of attempts and a couple of losses on this level and a bit of trial and error, we managed to reach the final wave, fight King Malik, and he was honestly a bit of a hard fight. I'm not gonna lie, he was a bit of a hard fight. And the main reason he was a hard fight is because he spams the fuck out of his ability that lets him destroy towers. I told you before that the Shark King, for example, spammed the fuck out of his ability to destroy towers, but if you think that he spammed his ability, you have not seen King Malik before, because King Malik actually spammed the fuck, like Urban Dictionary fuck, out of his ability to instantly destroy towers. And not only that, but his ability to destroy towers was even more powerful than the Shark King's, because once he destroyed the tower, you could not rebuild the tower in that same spot anymore. But after focusing our hero on him, and after using our abilities in King Malik, and after, focus firing on him with all our towers and whatnot, we managed to take him down, and with that, we beat Kingdom Rush Vengeance, baby. We 100%ed Kingdom Rush Vengeance, getting every single star in the game, completing every single Iron and Heroic challenge, and completing every single level with 3 stars. However, we're not quite off the hook yet, because we still have exactly and precisely one more achievement to get. And that achievement is Unlimited Power. And to get the achievement, you have to kill 5,000 enemies with Veznan's little lightning strike ability that you can use in every level. And this is a really big challenge, because in the original trilogy, your lightning strike, meteor shower equivalent ability, or whatever the hell, your soul impact equivalent ability in the original trilogy used to deal a ton of damage and was able to kill basically any enemy. Meanwhile, in Kingdom Rush Vengeance, the soul impact ability does fuck all damage. It can barely kill a fucking fly on the wall. It is the most useless ability of all time. It does like a little bit of damage, and it helped out with a couple of bosses, but it is really not as good as like a meteor shower or a thunder strike from like the original trilogy. So you best believe that this achievement was going to be really hard to get, and considering the fact that we beat the whole entire game, including all the Iron and Heroic challenges, and only had like 2,000 out of the 5,000 necessary kills in order to complete the game, then that would mean that if we wanted to get this achievement, we would need to complete the whole entire game like 1 or 2 more times. And you best believe that I was not doing all that shit. So I quickly went to YouTube and I searched up how to get this achievement easily, because there had to be some way. There had to be some method, some strategy to it, And I went on YouTube and I searched it up, and I found out that the way to get this achievement is by grinding the one singular good iron challenge in this whole entire fucking game. And of course, I'm talking about the iron challenge in the Magnus Spellbane level. You remember that level in the main campaign where we fought Magnus Spellbane before taking on King Danis and whatever? Well, I said that that level had like the one and only good iron challenge, and I made like a little joke about how it's too scary and we have to get out of here. But well, basically, that iron challenge spams a ton of sheep at you. It spams like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. Not even hundreds, I think it's actually thousands, like legitimately thousands of sheep at you. And you need to take all those sheep out before you can end the level. And yeah, basically the whole strategy was just timing your soul impact on that level well enough for you to be able to hit like the biggest clusters of sheep that come out. And that can grant you up to like 1,000 kills per level, which is like per every time you play, like per every attempt, you can get 1,000 kills, which is pretty fucking insane, because that means that you only need to play this level like 5 times if you're starting from zero, from scratch, in order to get the unlimited power achievement. And well, that's exactly what I did. I enjoyed my fucking time. I spent a bit of time playing this level. I enjoyed myself. And I ended up getting my 5,000 kills, and it was a really fun time, honestly. I thought it was going to be some grueling bullshit, like boring grind, but in the end, it actually ended up being pretty fun. But yeah, that was how it all shaked out. That was how it all went down. And with that achievement out of the way, we finally 100% completed Kingdom Rush Vengeance. We did every single level, every single Iron and Heroic challenge, and we got every single achievement under the sun that this game has to offer. What a beautiful experience. But while I do my usual run of scrolling through the achievements list just to make 100% absolutely sure that I 100% completed the game, I want to take a moment as always, and once again, thank all of you guys for watching this video. Even if you didn't make it to the end, I still thank you. Even if you only watched like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of this video, however long, I sincerely want to thank you for watching it, and I want to thank you for just engaging with my work and my YouTube videos in general. Because it's actually pretty crazy to think about, dude. Like, when I started YouTube first, when I first started out on YouTube, I was just reposting, like, random memes that I found on the internet and just, like, making goofy little unedited videos as a dumb little child. But, like, now, I actually have, like, a little bit of a fan base, and, like, people actually want to watch me, and that's just, like, really crazy to think about. So, if you are one of those people watching me, then thank you very, very, very much. Comment down below if you made it to this point in the video, because I'd honestly be surprised if anyone did. But if you did, then comment down below, and you'll get a little heart from me. For those of you that are here, though, I guess the only gift that I can really give you is, well, that heart on your comment that you're definitely 100% gonna leave, right? You're 100% gonna leave a comment, right? Yeah, well, the only gift that I can give you is a heart badge in that comment that you're gonna leave. But anyways, aside of that, the only other gift that I can give you is a little story, actually. Because I ended up discovering a pretty interesting bug in Kingdom Rush Vengeance. So I actually have 2 save files on this game. My first save file was from when I first played this game and just dicked around a little bit, just messed around a little bit. And that save file was, I think, on casual mode or something. It was something like that. But anyways, the point is that on that save file, I have not played any of the DLCs yet, right? I haven't played the Pirate Kings DLC, and I haven't played the... Well, I have played the Hammerhole DLC, but I haven't played the Pirate Kings DLC, is what I'm trying to get at. And that's actually really interesting, because on this save file, where I haven't even touched the Pirate Kings DLC, you can somehow see that on the save file, I still have the achievement for beating the Pirate Kings DLC. Even though I never even touched it. Even though I never played on the save file, never touched it, never did nothing to it, I still somehow have the achievement for beating the Pirate Kings DLC. which was something really interesting that I found, because in this game, your achievements don't transfer between save files. Whenever you start a new save file, or all your achievements are like completely cleaned out, right? You have to like start from scratch and get all the achievements all over again. So it was quite interesting that without meeting the requirement to get this achievement, I still somehow have it. It was just a pretty crazy thing to see, honestly. But anyways, with that pointless little yap aside, I want to thank you once again for the final time for watching this video. And with that, fellas, see you tomorrow for Kingdom Rush Alliance.